Hi everybody, this is PeterLalic chess player PeterLalic, continuing the chess endgame course with an interesting example. You don't see it a lot, but sometimes the lone knight has to defend against a passed pawn. For example, it's not too uncommon for the defending king to be well out of the game after a pawn promotion race. And sometimes, for example, the defender will have to advance his pawn to get counterplay, and when that is chopped off by, for example, another piece, then he's left with a piece against a pawn. Now let's see. We see this position, and by the way, this pawn on e7 can be on f7, g7, d7, c7 or b7. The case is exactly the same, so let's just pretend that for all these cases we're going to see how the black knight can do an amazing job. It's white to play here. Clearly the king is well out of the game, so we need to find some miraculous feat of knight manoeuvring to draw this game, and let's see how we can do it. White must advance with king e6, and now we should be able to advance our own king. The point is that if king f7, then knight c7, and e8 is protected, while all these squares are impossible routes for the king. So it must reroute itself by f6, and then after king f3, king e5, knight e8 reaches the same position, except with our king more advanced. So with that in mind, now let's see how sometimes the knight is a dreadful defending piece. And let's see this catastrophic example. With white to play, obviously this is game over, simply because with the knight in the very corner, it has a dreadful prospect. And this is game over. It's not even as if the king were close enough, for example at d6 now, in order to play to c7, hemming in the king. So going back to our starting position, that's why a pawn on the a file or h file, depending on the way you look at it, is a very tough nut to crack, okay? And it's extremely tricky for the defending knight to rush back, okay? But there is this exceptional case, and we see the only difference is that in this position, black, the defender, has already stopped the pawn at the 6th rank. Now let's see this amazing resource he has. With white to play, we see king b6, and only knight c8 is possible now. So this is check. If king c7, then knight a7 is sufficient, and after king b7, knight b5, we see that white isn't really going anywhere or doing anything, since a7 can be taken. So going back to our starting position, after king b6, knight c8, only really king b7 makes sense, stopping the knight from coming back to a7. Now the point is that we can make this circuit from a7 to c8 to d6 to b5 to a7 again. This is our crucial square, because pawn cannot advance. Now after knight d6 check, what about king c6? Well, then we come back to c8, and again the a pawn cannot advance, so white must repeat the position until he finds, let us say, king c7. And now the point is that after knight b5 we can reach one of these crucial squares again, so that after a7, knight c8 check forks the pawn and the king. I'll leave it there. Some amazing feats by the knight, and we can also conclude that in general, unless there is such a marvellous tactical resource, it's bad to face a pawn on the flank. Thank you much. This is PeterLalic signing off, saying good luck with your endgames, and don't underestimate the knight.